There was a place we passed through once, back in the first episode. A place where stars still burned, where galaxies still held their shape against the dark. We saw them spinning slowly, glowing like embers scattered across forever. And we thought maybe that's what the universe always was. Light holding on. But we were wrong, or maybe just early, because now we've drifted beyond that glow, beyond the last familiar spiral arms, beyond the noise of star formation. And what we found out here is something else entirely. A silence that feels older than memory. A darkness that doesn't quite feel empty. It feels like something used to be here. Something huge. Something that left only shadows behind. We're floating now through regions where galaxies once lived. Where they burned bright for billions of years. Where they grew and collided and tore each other apart in slow motion. But that was a long time ago. Longer than we can really imagine. Now, there's just the faintest trace of them left. Structures made of gravity and dust. Shapes we can barely see. Ghost galaxies. That's what some call them. Not because they haunt anyone, but because they're the afterimage of something that's already gone. And we're here to drift among them. To see what remains when the light finally fades. To wonder what it means when a galaxy dies so slowly you don't even notice it happening. This is where we are now, in the starless expanse, among the ghosts. It's strange how you don't notice the change at first. You're moving through space and everything looks normal. Stars here and there, dim ones mostly. Red dwarfs burning low and slow. But they're still stars, still points of light in the dark. And then, somewhere along the way they start to thin out. One every few light years becomes one every 10. Then one every 100. And you think maybe it's just a void, a gap between clusters. Space has those. Empty pockets where matter never gathered. But this feels different, because when you look closer, there's still mass here. You can feel it in the way light bends around nothing, in the way your instruments pick up gravitational pull from regions that look completely black. There's something here, just not anything you can see. We've entered what astronomers used to call a starless expanse. A region where galaxies existed once, where they formed and lived their full lives. But now their stars are gone, burned out or flung away. And all that's left is the skeleton, the dark matter halo that held them together, the dust that never ignited, the cold remnants of what used to shine. It's like walking through an old city at night, where all the lights have been turned off, and you can still feel the shape of the buildings around you, still sense the streets and the spaces. But there's no one home anymore. That's what this place feels like. A city of galaxies with no one left inside. We slow down here, not because we need to, but because it feels right. Like you should move quietly through a place like this. With respect, maybe, or just with attention. Because even though there's no light, there's still beauty here, still structure, still the memory of something immense. The first ghost galaxy we pass is barely visible. just a faint smudge against the black. A region where space looks slightly thicker, like fog hanging in a valley. Our senses pick it up as a gravitational anomaly. Mass without brightness, matter without heat. It's roughly the size of a small spiral galaxy, maybe 100 billion solar masses. But there's no glow, no stars left to mark its presence. Just the slow, patient pull of gravity, holding everything in place, even though there's nothing left to hold. We drift past it slowly, and for a moment I wonder what it looked like once. Whether it had arms that spun, whether it collided with something bigger, whether anyone ever lived inside it. Looked up at their night sky and saw other galaxies far away. Wondered what it would be like to travel between them. But that was trillions of years ago, long before we were even a thought. Long before Earth existed. Long before the sun. This galaxy lived its entire life and died and faded, and here we are now, passing through its remains like wind through an empty house. It's humbling, not in a sad way, just in a way that reminds you how small your moment is, how brief, how even the longest burning things eventually go dark. We keep moving, and the expanse stretches on. The darkness feels deeper now, not threatening, just present, like it's always been here, like the light was just a temporary visitor. And now the darkness has returned to claim what was always its. I think about the journey that brought us here, how many light years we've travelled, how many years have passed back home, if home even exists anymore. Time moves strangely when you're moving through the universe, when you're witnessing things that happened trillions of years ago, when you're seeing the end result of processes that took longer than human civilization ever lasted. It makes you feel small, but also connected somehow. The instruments hum quietly, recording everything. Measuring gravitational fields, mapping the invisible structures around us. The data streams in constantly, numbers and readings that describe what we're passing through. But numbers don't capture what it feels like to be here, in this place where galaxies came to rest, where the universe is showing you what happens when everything runs its course, when the story reaches its quiet conclusion. Another ghost appears ahead, this one slightly larger, its halo stretching across millions of light years. We adjust our course to pass through its center, to see what's there or what's not there. And as we enter the region, I feel the ship respond to the gravity, a gentle pull, like being drawn into an embrace. But there's nothing to see, just blackness, just space that feels slightly heavier than the space around it. The stars that once lived here are long gone, scattered or dead. The planets that might have orbited them dissolved into dust. The moons that circled those planets broken apart. Everything that once had form and structure now reduced to atoms. Drifting, cooling, joining the background darkness. And yet the galaxy itself remains. Its gravitational signature unchanged. Its mass still holding the shape it held billions of years ago. It's like looking at a photograph of someone who died long ago. The image remains. The face is still recognizable, but the person is gone. The life that animated them extinguished, and you're left with just the memory, just the outline of what was. That's what these ghost galaxies are. Photographs of light, frozen in the structure of space itself, waiting for someone to come along and remember them. We drift deeper into the expanse, and more ghosts reveal themselves. Some small, some enormous, some alone, some clustered together, each one a former home to billions of stars, each one a place where maybe life existed, where maybe civilizations rose and fell, where maybe beings like us looked up and wondered, and then faded away, leaving only this quiet darkness, this patient gravity. It takes a while to see them properly, the ghost galaxies, because they don't announce themselves. They don't glow or pulse or shimmer. They just sit there in the dark, waiting. But once you know what to look for, they start appearing everywhere. Faint lensing distortions in the background radiation, regions where distant light bends slightly, where space curves around invisible mass, gravitational echoes. That's what they are. The universe's way of remembering what used to be here. Pass through a cluster of them. Maybe a dozen ghost galaxies grouped loosely together, their halos overlapping, their centers separated by millions of light years. Once they might have been a galactic group, bound together by mutual gravity, orbiting each other slowly over billions of years. Now they're just shapes in the dark, barely distinguishable from the void around them. But they're still here, still holding their form, still massive enough to warp space-time. I try to imagine what this region looked like 10 trillion years ago, when these galaxies were young, when their stars were bright and hot, when nebulae glowed pink and blue inside them, when supernovae flashed and black holes fed and new stars formed from collapsing clouds. It must have been beautiful. A small pocket of light in the cosmos, a place where complexity thrived, where chemistry happened, where maybe life found a way. But that's all gone now. The stars aged. The bright ones died first, exploded or collapsed. The smaller ones burned slower, red dwarfs that lasted for trillions of years. But even they faded eventually, cooled into brown dwarfs, then into black dwarfs. Cold, dead spheres of carbon and iron, too dim to see, too cold to feel. And the galaxies became ghosts. We drift through one of them now, right through the center, where the core used to be, where maybe a supermassive black hole still sits, quiet and patient, waiting for something to fall in, but nothing does, because there's nothing left to fall. The gas is gone. The dust settled long ago. The stars either died or drifted away, and the black hole just waits, in silence, in darkness, forever. It's strange how peaceful it feels here. You'd think a dead galaxy would feel sad or lonely, but it doesn't. It just feels still, like the end of a long day, when everything's been done and there's nothing left to do but rest. Maybe that's what death is out here, not an ending, just a settling, a return to quiet. We keep moving, and I realize something. These ghost galaxies aren't really dead. They're just finished. They lived. They burned. They shone. And now they're resting. And maybe that's enough. The ship's instruments are working overtime now, mapping each halo we pass, measuring its mass distribution, its shape, its rotation. Because yes, these galaxies are still rotating, even without stars, even without anything visible. The dark matter spins, slowly, patiently, following the same orbital patterns established billions of years ago. When the galaxy first formed, when matter first began to collapse under its own gravity, that motion continues, will continue, for unimaginable lengths of time. I look at the data streaming across the screens. Numbers describing invisible structures. Graphs showing gravitational gradients. Maps of dark matter density. And I try to translate that into something I can understand. Into something that means more than just measurements. Each of these ghosts was once a living, breathing galaxy. Each one hosted countless worlds. Each one was a stage where the drama of existence played out. Stars were born in their spiral arms, lived their lives fusing hydrogen into heavier elements, and died in spectacular explosions that seeded space with the building blocks of planets. Those planets formed, some of them in the habitable zones of their stars, some with liquid water on their surfaces, some maybe with life. Simple at first, single cells floating in ancient oceans, but then growing more complex, evolving, adapting, maybe even becoming conscious. And those conscious beings looked up, saw the stars scattered across their night sky, wondered what they were, built telescopes, discovered other galaxies, learned that their home was just one of billions. Maybe they ventured out, like we did, built ships, sailed between the stars, explored their own galaxy, found other worlds, other life, or found nothing. Just empty planets and barren moons. Either way, they were part of this, part of the story these ghost galaxies hold. And now they're gone, those beings, those worlds, those civilizations. All of it faded into the past, into the darkness, leaving only the gravitational skeleton behind, only the invisible frame that held it all together. We pass through another ghost, this one with a peculiar shape, elongated, stretched, like it was pulled by some enormous force. And maybe it was. Maybe it collided with another galaxy. A slow-motion crash that took millions of years. The two systems passing through each other. Their stars scattered, but rarely colliding because space is so vast. But their gas clouds smashing together, heating, glowing, triggering a burst of star formation. Bright young stars igniting throughout both galaxies. A brief renaissance of light. Before the fuel ran out, before the darkness returned. You can still see the evidence of that collision in the shape of the halo, in the streams of dark matter trailing off in opposite directions. like scars, like memories written in gravity. The universe keeps records, not in books or databases, but in the structure of space itself, in the way matter arranges itself, in the echoes of events that happened so long ago they're almost meaningless. Almost. We keep drifting, and the ghosts keep revealing themselves. Some clear, some faint, some barely there at all, just the faintest gravitational whisper. A suggestion that something used to exist here, and I find myself feeling grateful, not sad, not melancholy, but grateful that we get to see this, that we get to witness what becomes of galaxies, what becomes of light, what becomes of everything when given enough time. Because this is the truth of the universe, this quiet darkness, this patient stillness. The light was beautiful while it lasted. The galaxies were magnificent, but they were temporary, just a phase. And this is what comes after. Not nothing, but something quieter, something more fundamental. The basic structure of space, the gravitational field, the dark matter that was always there, holding everything together, and still here now, still present, still real, even though everything else has faded away. I've been thinking about what galaxies meant back when they were alive, back when they were full of light. They were more than just collections of stars. They were ecosystems, places where matter organized itself into complexity, where hydrogen became helium, became carbon, became iron, where planets formed, where oceans gathered, where maybe minds woke up and looked around and wondered why. Every galaxy was a world unto itself, 100 billion stars, each one a sun, many with planets, some with moons, some with atmospheres and weather and seasons, and all of it held together by gravity, by the invisible hand of dark matter, pulling everything into spirals and ellipses and bars, shaping the light into patterns we found beautiful. The Milky Way was one of those, our home galaxy, a barred spiral, roughly 100,000 light years across, with spiral arms that curved outward like water flowing from a fountain. We lived in one of those arms, the Orion Spur, a small branch off the main structure. And from there we looked out at the rest of the galaxy, at the core glowing faintly through dust, at the neighboring stars scattered around us, at the Magellanic Clouds hanging nearby, small galaxies orbiting ours. We thought it would last forever, not literally, but in the way you think your home will always be there, even when you leave, even when you're far away. You assume it's still there, still spinning, still glowing. But galaxies don't last forever. They merge, they collide, they exhaust their gas and stop forming stars. And eventually, the stars they have burn out, one by one, over trillions of years, until there's nothing left but darkness. The Milky Way merged with Andromeda once, billions of years after we left. The two galaxies spiraled into each other, their stars scattered and mixed. Their black holes sank to the center and merged. And for a while, the new galaxy burned even brighter, fed by fresh gas and collisions. But that didn't last either. The gas ran out. The star formation stopped. And slowly the light dimmed, until it became one of these, a ghost, a memory of what it used to be. I wonder if anyone was still there when it happened, still living on some planet, orbiting some dying star, watching the sky fade year by year, watching the neighboring galaxies disappear into darkness, knowing that soon their own sun would go cold, and there would be nothing left to see. Maybe they left, like we did. Maybe they built ships and sailed out into the dark, looking for younger galaxies, for places still burning. Or maybe they stayed. Maybe they decided that home was worth staying for, even if it was dying, even if the end was certain. I don't know which choice is braver. We pass through another ghost now, this one larger, maybe the remnant of an elliptical galaxy, the kind that used to be old even when the universe was young, full of red stars and ancient globular clusters. Now it's just a halo of dark matter, a gravitational well with nothing at the bottom. And I feel something I didn't expect. Gratitude. Because even though these galaxies are gone, even though their light has faded, they still gave us everything. The carbon in our bodies came from stars like these. The oxygen we breathed. The iron in our blood. All of it forged in the cores of suns. All of it scattered by supernovae. All of it gathered into planets where life could begin. We're made of dead stars. Every atom, every molecule. We're the children of galaxies. And now we're here, drifting through their graves, remembering what they gave us. It feels important somehow. To be here, to witness this, to say thank you to the darkness. Because without these galaxies we wouldn't exist. Without their stars fusing elements. Without their supernovae spreading those elements through space. Without their gravity pulling matter together into planets. Life never would have started. Consciousness never would have emerged. We never would have looked up and asked why. Galaxies were the cradles of complexity, the places where the universe became interesting, where simple hydrogen gas transformed into everything else, into rocky planets and liquid water, into amino acids and proteins, into cells and organisms, into beings capable of thought, of wonder, of love. All of that happened inside galaxies, under the light of their stars, protected by their gravity. And it happened over and over, in billions of galaxies scattered across the cosmos. Each one a separate experiment, each one trying different combinations, different chemistries, different paths. Some successful, some not, but all of them contributing to the vast tapestry of existence. All of them part of the story of how the universe came to know itself. I think about Earth, our home world, orbiting a yellow star in an ordinary spiral galaxy. Nothing special about it from a cosmic perspective. Just one planet among trillions. But it was special to us. It was where we evolved, where we built our civilizations, where we created art and music and philosophy, where we first looked up and wondered if we were alone. And we weren't alone. Not really. Because even if we never found other life, even if Earth was the only world where consciousness emerged, we were still connected to everything, made of the same atoms, following the same physical laws, part of the same universe, the same story. And that galaxy held us, gave us a place to be .a, stage to exist on. But we left, because we had to, because the sun was aging, because Earth wouldn't last forever, because we wanted to see what else was out there. So we built ships, gathered everything we could carry, and sailed out into the dark, leaving behind the only home we'd ever known. It was hard, harder than I can describe, to leave everything familiar, to know you'd never return. But it was also exciting, full of possibility, because the universe was so vast, so full of wonders we hadn't seen, and we wanted to see them, wanted to understand them, wanted to be part of something bigger. So we went. And we've been traveling ever since, through regions of space we never imagined, seeing things we never dreamed possible. And now we're here, among the ghost galaxies, in a time so far removed from our own, that the Milky Way itself is probably a ghost now, that Earth is long gone, that humanity as we knew it no longer exists. But we're still here, still exploring, still witnessing, still carrying forward the curiosity that made us human. And that feels important. That feels like something worth preserving, even in the darkness, even among the ruins. I look at the ghost galaxy we're passing through, try to imagine what it was like when it was alive, when beings lived here, when they looked up and wondered, when they loved and feared and hoped. All of that happened. All of that was real. And even though it's gone now, even though no trace remains except gravity, it still mattered. It was still beautiful. It was still part of the universe's journey. From simplicity to complexity, from darkness to light, and back to darkness again. There's a word I keep thinking about: entropy. It means the universe is always moving toward disorder, toward cold, toward stillness. Energy spreads out, heat dissipates, and eventually everything reaches the same temperature, the same emptiness. It's not a sad thing, really, just a patient one. The universe has been doing this since the beginning, since the Big Bang, when everything was hot and dense and bright. And it's been cooling ever since, expanding, spreading the energy thinner and thinner, until one day there won't be any heat left, any light left, just cold matter drifting in the dark. We're watching that process now. Out here, among the ghost galaxies, we're seeing what happens when the light runs out, when the stars finish burning, when the galaxies go dark. It takes a long time, longer than most people ever imagined. Red dwarf stars can burn for 10 trillion years, maybe more. They sip their hydrogen slowly, carefully, making it last. But even they run out eventually. And when they do, they don't explode. They just fade, cooling into brown dwarfs, then into black dwarfs, invisible spheres of spent fuel, floating through space like stones. And once that happens, the galaxy is dark, not empty, just dark, full of mass but no light, full of matter but no energy. Fossil. That's what these ghost galaxies are, fossils of a brighter time. We pass through a region where the background radiation is slightly warmer, just a fraction of a degree, the faint echo of an old star cluster, one that burned out trillions of years ago, but left a little heat behind. A ghost of a ghost. It's hard to explain how that feels. To be in a place where even the heat is ancient, where even the warmth is a memory. But it's not depressing. Not really. It's just the way things are. The universe is old, older than it's ever been, and it's going to keep getting older, keep getting colder, keep getting darker, until one day there's nothing left but black holes, and even those will evaporate, slowly, over timescales so long they make trillions of years look like seconds. Hawking radiation. Stephen Hawking figured it out. Black holes aren't perfectly black. They leak. Tiny particles escaping from the event horizon, taking energy with them. And over unimaginable stretches of time, the black hole shrinks, loses mass, until finally it evaporates completely. A flash of radiation, and then nothing. Even black holes die. Even gravity gives up eventually. And when that happens, the universe will be truly empty. No stars, no galaxies, no black holes, just particles drifting apart forever, cold and alone. That's called heat death, the final state of everything, when entropy wins completely. But we're not there yet, not even close. We're in the middle stages, the twilight, when the light is mostly gone, but the structure remains. When you can still see the shapes of what used to be, still feel the gravity of old galaxies, still trace the paths where stars once orbited. It's a beautiful time in a way, quiet but not silent, dark but not empty. A time for reflection, for remembering, for appreciating what was. We drift onward, and the darkness deepens. I think about the first law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. All the light that ever shone from stars, all the heat they radiated, all the energy they released, it's all still here, somewhere, spread thin across the universe, transformed into background radiation, into the kinetic energy of particles, into the expansion of space itself. Nothing was lost. Not really, just transformed, redistributed, made less useful, less concentrated. That's what entropy does. It takes concentrated pockets of energy and spreads them out, until everything is uniform, until there are no more gradients, no more differences in temperature or density, no more flow, just stillness. But that process takes time. enormous amounts of time. More time than humans ever conceived of. The stars that lit the early universe burned for billions of years, then for trillions. And the last ones will burn for even longer. The universe is patient. It's in no hurry to reach its final state. It's taking its time, letting every process play out, letting every star burn through its fuel, letting every black hole evaporate, letting every particle drift as far as it wants to go. There's no deadline, no schedule, just the slow, inevitable march toward equilibrium. And we're here to watch part of that march, to see one stage of it, the stage where galaxies have gone dark, where stars are mostly gone, where the universe has settled into a deeper quiet. But not the final quiet, not yet. There's still structure here, still mass, still gravity doing its work, still time flowing forward, still change happening, just slower, gentler, less dramatic. I look at the instruments again, at the readings showing the temperature of space around us. It's cold, a few degrees above absolute zero. The cosmic microwave background radiation, the afterglow of the Big Bang, stretched thin by billions of years of expansion, cooled by the growth of the universe. It used to be thousands of degrees, hot enough to ionize hydrogen, to prevent atoms from forming. But now it's barely warm enough to measure, and it's still cooling, still spreading out, still fading. One day it will be so cold, so faint, that it's essentially zero, indistinguishable from the vacuum. And then the universe will have lost even this faint connection to its fiery birth, even this last trace of heat. But that's still far in the future. For now, the background radiation is here, faint but real. A reminder that the universe was once hot, once dense, once full of energy, way past through another ghost galaxy. And I think about all the light it once produced, all the photons streaming out from its stars, traveling through space at the speed of light, some absorbed by dust, some escaping into intergalactic space, flying outward forever, or until they hit something. Those photons are still out there, somewhere, red shifted by expansion, cooled by distance, but still traveling, still carrying energy, still part of the universe. Light doesn't disappear. It just becomes invisible, stretched to longer and longer wavelengths, until it's indistinguishable from the background, until it's just another whisper in the cosmic static. But it's still there, still real, still a piece of the galaxy that emitted it, a memory traveling through space at light speed. Maybe someday someone will detect those photons. We'll see the light from this galaxy. We'll know that it existed, that it burned, that it mattered. Or maybe not. Maybe the light will travel forever, through ever-emptying space, through the expanding void, never reaching anything, never being seen, just flying through darkness for eternity. And that's okay too, because the light did its job already. It illuminated the galaxy, warmed its planets, maybe supported life, maybe allowed beings to see, to photosynthesize, to exist. Its work is done. The erosion of light is not tragic. It's just natural. Everything that begins must end. Everything that shines must eventually dim. Everything that burns must cool. That's not a flaw in the universe. It's just how time works, how physics works, how reality works. And there's a kind of peace in accepting that, in understanding that endings are as natural as beginnings. That darkness is as real as light. That silence is as meaningful as sound. We keep moving through the starless expanse, through regions where light faded trillions of years ago, where the stars burned out, where the galaxies went quiet. And it's not sad, it's just complete. Like finishing a book, like reaching the end of a journey, like watching the sun set after a long day. The day was beautiful. The light was wonderful. But night has its own beauty, its own quiet wonder. And we're learning to see it, to appreciate it, to find meaning in the darkness. Gravity doesn't fade the way light does. That's something I didn't fully understand before. Light dims with distance, spreads out until it's too faint to see. But gravity just keeps pulling, quiet and patient, forever. Out here among the ghost galaxies you can feel it. Not physically, but in the way space bends, the way our trajectory curves slightly as we pass near invisible mass, the way distant light from even farther sources gets distorted, lensed, bent around halos we can't see. It's like the universe is full of invisible hands, shaping everything, guiding everything, even in the dark. We pass through a region where the lensing is particularly strong. A massive dark matter halo, maybe the remnant of a galaxy cluster. Dozens of galaxies that once orbited each other. Now, just overlapping fields of gravity. No light, no stars, just mass. And it's strange because you can map it. You can trace the shape of the halo by watching how it bends background light. The eye measuring the distortions, and when you do that you see structure. Filaments of dark matter, streams and arcs, places where smaller halos merged, where galaxies collided and their dark matter mixed. It's like archaeology. You're looking at the bones of something ancient, trying to reconstruct what it looked like when it was alive. And you can, sort of. You can see where the core was, where the satellites orbited, how the whole system moved through space. But you can't see the light anymore. Can't see the stars that once filled these halos. Can't see the nebulae, or the dust lanes, or the glowing cores. All of that is gone, faded into darkness, and only gravity remains. There's something almost comforting about that, about knowing that even when everything else disappears, even when the light and heat and motion all fade away, gravity is still there, still connecting things, still holding the universe together, in its own quiet way. We pass near what might have been a spiral galaxy once. The dark matter halo has that shape, a flattened disk with a central bulge, the kind of structure you'd expect from a rotating system, where stars and gas and dust once spun around a common center. Now it's just empty space, but you can still see the rotation in the lensing patterns, the way light bends differently on one side than the other. The galaxy is still spinning, even though there's nothing left to spin. Just the memory of motion, encoded in the fabric of space itself. I think about all the stars that must have orbited here, billions of them, each one moving in its own ellipse, rising and falling through the galactic plane, passing through spiral arms, feeling the tug of neighbors. And now they're all gone, burned out or flung away, drifting alone through the void, cold and invisible. But the gravity remains, the shape remains, the structure remains. And that feels important somehow, like even though the galaxy is dead, even though its stars are gone, it's still here, still present, still part of the universe, just in a different way. We keep moving, and the gravitational echoes guide us, pulling us gently from one ghost to the next, like a path through the darkness, like a memory leading us home. The instruments track every subtle change in our trajectory, every tiny acceleration caused by nearby mass. And slowly a map builds, a three-dimensional picture of the invisible structures around us. Dark matter halos scattered through space, some isolated, some clustered, some connected by thin filaments. The cosmic web, still visible even though the galaxies themselves are gone. It's beautiful in its own way. This invisible architecture, this gravitational skeleton holding the shape of creation, even after the flesh has rotted away, even after the life has departed. I think about how long these structures will last, how many more trillions of years before even they fade, before the dark matter halos disperse, before the cosmic web unravels, before gravity itself becomes too weak to hold anything together. That time will come, eventually, as the universe continues to expand. As space itself grows larger, the gravitational bonds between objects will weaken, clusters will drift apart, galaxies will separate, even the ghosts will fade. But that's still impossibly far in the future. For now, the gravitational echoes remain strong, clear, traceable. We can still see the structure, still feel the pull, still navigate by the invisible landmarks left behind. And that's enough. That's more than enough. Because it means the universe still has memory, still carries traces of what it used to be, still honors what came before, even in silence, even in darkness, even in emptiness. WA approach another massive halo, this one different from the others. More concentrated, denser, and as we get closer, I realize what it is. The core of an old galaxy cluster, where dozens of galaxies merged over billions of years, their dark matter halos combining into one enormous structure. Trillions of solar masses in a region only a few million light years across. It's massive. One of the largest gravitational wells we've encountered. And in its center, where the galaxies all settled, where their central black holes merged, there's something even stranger. A region where space curves so sharply, it's almost bent back on itself, where light follows tight spirals, where time itself flows differently. The remnant, supermassive black hole, maybe 100 billion times the mass of the Sun, formed from the merger of dozens of smaller black holes, each one the heart of a dead galaxy, now combined into a single patient monster, sitting alone in the dark, waiting. The lensing around it is extraordinary. Light from distant sources bends almost completely around, creating multiple images, arcs and rings, Einstein crosses, the signatures of extreme gravity. We don't go too close. The tidal forces would tear us apart, but we can observe from a safe distance, can watch how profoundly the black hole shapes space around it, can see the gravitational echo of something so massive it refuses to disappear, even when everything else has faded, even when the stars have burned out, even when the galaxies have gone dark. The black hole remains, patient, eternal, or nearly so, because even it will eventually evaporate, hawking radiation slowly carrying away its mass. But that will take so long, so unimaginably long, that for all practical purposes the black hole is immortal. It will outlast everything, outlast the last star, the last planet, the last particle of ordinary matter. And then finally, after a time period so vast it makes the current age of the universe seem like nothing, the black hole will evaporate, will release its mass back into space as radiation, and then it too will be gone. But not yet, not for a long time. For now it sits, massive and dark, a gravitational monument, a tomb for dozens of galaxies, a reminder that even in death, even in darkness, the universe still has power, still has presence, still matters. We pull away, our trajectory bending as we escape the black hole's influence, and I feel something strange, a kind of respect for this massive invisible object, for its patience, for its permanence, for the way it holds onto existence even when everything else has let go. It's still here, still real, still shaping space, still creating gravitational echoes that will ripple through the universe long after we're gone, long after everything is gone. I used to think dark matter was just empty space, placeholder, something we invented to make the math work. But out here you realize it's more than that. It's real. It's everywhere. It's most of what the universe actually is. Stars and planets and gas and dust. All the stuff we can see. All the stuff that glows and burns and reflects light. That's only about 5% of the total mass. The rest is dark matter. Invisible, intangible, but absolutely there. You can't touch it, can't see it, can't interact with it except through gravity. But it shapes everything. It's the skeleton that galaxies form around, the scaffolding that holds the universe together. And now that the stars are gone, now that the light has faded, the dark matter is all that's left. The fossils. We drift through one of these fossils now. A massive halo. Maybe 1 trillion solar masses. spread out over millions of light years. It has structure, density variations, clumps and voids, places where smaller halos merged long ago, where galaxies collided, where tidal forces stripped matter away, all of it still visible in the gravitational field. If you know how to look, our instruments map it slowly, layer by layer, building a picture of what's here. And what we find is beautiful, intricate, like a sculpture carved from invisible stone. There are filaments stretching between clumps, streams of dark matter connecting one halo to another, the cosmic web. That's what astronomers called it, the large-scale structure of the universe, a network of filaments and nodes, with galaxies forming at the intersections, where matter gathered, where gas cooled and collapsed, where stars ignited. But now, the galaxies are gone, the stars are out, and only the web remains, invisible threads stretching across the cosmos, connecting nothing to nothing, but still there, still holding the shape of creation. We follow one of these filaments, a stream of dark matter connecting two ghost galaxies. It's maybe 1 million light years long, and barely denser than the space around it. But we can trace it by watching how light bends along its length, by measuring the gravitational gradient, and it's like following a road. A path laid down billions of years ago, when galaxies were still forming, when matter was still flowing. Now, the road is empty, but it's still there, still guiding us. I think about what dark matter actually is. We never figured that out. Not completely. There were theories. Weakly interacting massive particles, axions, sterile neutrinos, primordial black holes. But none of them were ever confirmed. Dark matter remained a mystery. Something we knew existed, something we could measure and map, but something we never truly understood. And maybe that's fitting. Maybe it's right that the thing holding the universe together, the thing that makes galaxies possible, the thing that shaped everything, maybe it's right that it stays hidden, that it remains dark. A reminder that there are things bigger than us, things we can feel but never fully grasp, things we can study but never touch. We pass through the center of the halo now, the densest part, where the galaxy's core used to be, and for a moment everything feels heavier, not physically, but emotionally, like we're standing in a place that mattered once, a place where billions of stars orbited, where maybe millions of planets existed, where maybe life looked up at the sky and wondered. All of that happened here, in this exact spot, and now it's empty. But the dark matter remembers. It holds the shape, keeps the structure, like a fossil preserving the outline of something long extinct. We're drifting through ancient history, through deep time, and the universe is showing us its bones. The mapping continues, hour after hour, day after day. Our instruments recording every subtle variation in the gravitational field, every clump, every filament, every void, building a complete picture of the dark matter distribution in this region. And patterns emerge, structures that repeat, similarities between different halos, evidence of universal processes, the way dark matter collapses under gravity, the way halos merge and interact, the way structure forms from chaos, all of it following the same fundamental rules, the same physical laws, whether the halo is large or small, old or young, isolated or clustered. The patterns are the same, and that's comforting somehow. To know that even in this vast emptiness, even in this dark expanse where nothing visible remains, the universe still follows rules, still has order, still makes sense. The laws of physics haven't changed. Gravity still works the same way. Matter still responds to force. Space still curves around mass. Everything is still connected, still part of the same system, the same reality. Davy encounter a particularly interesting structure, a ring of dark matter, perfectly circular, about 500,000 light years across, and almost completely empty in the center. Like a smoke ring frozen in space, our instruments show it clearly. A dense ring with almost nothing inside. And I wonder how it formed. Maybe a head-on collision between two galaxies, their cores passing through each other, their dark matter halos interacting, creating this ring structure as they separated. Or maybe something else, some process we don't understand, some interaction we never predicted. Dark matter is strange. It doesn't behave like normal matter. It doesn't emit light, doesn't absorb light, doesn't interact with itself except through gravity. So it can pass through itself without slowing down, without friction, creating structures that normal matter never could, like this ring, this perfect circle hanging in the void, way past through it. And the instruments go wild, measuring the density, the rotation, the gravitational signature, recording everything. Because this is unique, something we've never seen before, a new type of dark matter structure, evidence that even after all this time, after all these trillions of years, the universe still has surprises, still has mysteries, still has things to teach us, and that makes the journey worth it, makes the darkness bearable, makes the emptiness meaningful, because we're still learning, still discovering, still finding beauty in unexpected places, in invisible structures, in gravitational fossils, in the bones of dead galaxies. The universe may be old, may be dark, may be quiet, but it's not finished. Not yet. There's still structure here, still complexity, still stories written in gravity, and we're here to read them, to understand them, to carry them forward into whatever comes next. Sometimes I forget I'm not alone out here. The ship is quiet. The systems hum gently, and there's no one to talk to. No crew, no voices. Just me and the ship, and the darkness outside. But the ship has been recording everything, storing observations, mapping the ghost galaxies, measuring gravitational fields, building a picture of this region. And sometimes I look at those records, at the data we've gathered. 10 seek something I did in patterns, connections, evidence of things that happened trillions of years ago. It's like reading a very old book, written in a language you barely understand. But slowly you start to see the story, the way galaxies moved, the way they interacted, the way they shaped each other. One of the ghost galaxies we passed earlier, the small one, the first one we encountered. It turns out it was part of a group, a small cluster of maybe 20 galaxies, all orbiting each other, all gravitationally bound. And over billions of years they merged. One by one, their stars mixed, their gas clouds collided, their dark matter halos overlapped, until eventually they became one, a single larger galaxy, which then aged and dimmed and became the ghost we passed through. You can still see the evidence in the structure of the dark matter halo, in the way it's slightly lumpy, in the streams of material radiating outward, the remnants of smaller galaxies torn apart by tidal forces, absorbed into something bigger. It's a violent history, but a slow one. Collisions that took hundreds of millions of years, mergers that unfolded over billions. Nothing sudden, nothing quick, just the patient grinding of gravity, pulling everything together until nothing was left separate. I think about the beings that might have lived there, on planets orbiting stars in those galaxies. They would have watched the sky change, generation after generation, seeing neighboring galaxies grow larger, closer, until one day they filled half the sky. And then the collision happened. Stars from both galaxies passing through each other, mostly missing, because space is so empty that even during a collision most stars never touch. But the gas clouds collided, and that triggered bursts of star formation, bright new stars igniting throughout the merged system, a final bloom of light before the decline. Maybe those beings survived. Maybe they adapted, built new civilizations on new worlds. Or maybe they left, sailed away into deeper space, looking for quieter regions, for places not caught in the chaos of merging galaxies. I'll never know. The evidence is long gone. Any civilizations that existed back then, any worlds they built, any art or science or philosophy they created, all of it faded with the stars, all of it lost to time. But I like to think they were here, that someone witnessed this, that someone looked up and saw the universe changing around them, and felt the same sense of awe I feel now, the same quiet wonder, the same appreciation for the scale of it all. Keep moving, and I keep recording. Because even though no one may ever see this, even though these observations might drift forever in storage, it still feels important to document, to bear witness, to say we were here, we saw this, and it mattered to us. The ship's memory banks are filling up. Terabytes of data, measurements, observations, maps. All of it describing a region of space that's essentially empty, that contains nothing visible, nothing tangible, But it's not empty. Not really. It's full of history, full of structure, full of stories. And we're capturing those stories, preserving them, even if no one ever reads them. Even if they drift through space forever, they exist. They're real. They matter. I look at the timeline we've constructed, the history of this region. It starts maybe 12 trillion years ago, when the first galaxies formed here. Small, irregular things, full of bright blue stars. Hot and turbulent, they grew over time, merging with neighbors, accumulating mass, forming spiral structures, calming down. And for billions of years they thrived. Stars formed, planets coalesced. Life might have emerged. Civilizations might have risen. The galaxies shone bright, visible across billions of light years. Beacons in the cosmic dark. But then the gas ran out. The star formation slowed, stopped. The bright stars died, exploded. The dimmer stars kept burning. Red dwarfs lasting for trillions of years. But eventually, they too faded, one by one, until the galaxies went dark. And that brings us to now, to this moment, where we drift through the remnants, through the gravitational ghosts, through the fossils, witnessing what remains, and recording it all, for posterity, for history, for whoever might come after, or for no one. It doesn't matter really. What matters is that we're doing it, that we're paying attention, that we're honoring these dead galaxies by remembering them, by documenting what they were, what they became, what they left behind. I think about the ship, this vessel that's carried me so far, through so much time, so much space. It's held together remarkably well, considering how old it is, how long it's been since anyone maintained it properly. The systems are aging. Some functions don't work anymore. Some sensors are dead. Some computers corrupted. But the core systems remain. Life support, propulsion, navigation, the essential things. The things that keep me alive, keep me moving, keep me exploring. And I'm grateful for that. Grateful to whatever engineers designed this ship, made it robust enough to last, made it reliable enough to trust. They've been dead for trillions of years, those engineers. Their entire civilization gone, their planet destroyed, their star burned out, but their work remains. This ship, still functioning, still flying, still doing what it was designed to do, exploring, witnessing, recording, and that feels meaningful, like a kind of immortality, not for them personally, but for their legacy, for what they created, for the purpose they built into this machine. That purpose lives on, even after they're gone, even after everything they knew is gone. And maybe that's what matters. Not living forever, not preserving ourselves, but creating things that outlast us, things that carry forward our values, our curiosity, our desire to understand. This ship is one of those things, a vessel of human curiosity, launched into the cosmos to see what's there, and reporting back, even when there's no one left to receive the reports, even when Earth is gone, when humanity is extinct. The ship keeps going, keeps observing, keeps recording. And maybe someday someone will find these records. Some other species, some other civilization. They'll discover the ship drifting through space, recover the databanks, read our observations, learn about the ghost galaxies we passed through, learn about us, about where we came from, what we cared about, why we came out here. And they'll know that once there was a species called humanity that lived on a planet called Earth, that looked up at the stars and wondered, and that built ships to go see, to explore, to understand. And that will be our legacy. Not monuments, not empires, but this curiosity, this desire to know, this willingness to venture into the unknown. And that's enough. That's more than enough. That's everything, really. There's a silence out here that's hard to describe. It's not just the absence of sound. That's true everywhere in space. No air means no sound waves, no voices, no wind, no music. But this silence feels deeper. It's the absence of activity, of energy, of change. The universe used to be loud, not literally, but metaphorically, full of supernovae, quasars, gamma-ray bursts, star formation, black holes feeding, galaxies colliding, all of it releasing enormous amounts of energy, flooding space with radiation, light, heat, motion. But out here, there's none of that. The stars are gone. The black holes are quiet. The galaxies finished merging long ago, and everything is just drifting. Cold, still, waiting. It's like the universe has exhaled and is now resting, catching its breath, preparing for the long sleep ahead. We pass through another ghost galaxy. This one barely distinguishable from the void. Its halo diffuse, its center empty. Maybe it was a dwarf galaxy once, small and dim even when it was alive. Now it's just a faint gravitational ripple, a suggestion that something used to be here. I try to imagine what the universe will look like even further into the future. Longer from now than now is from the Big Bang, when even the black holes are gone, when even the dark matter has maybe decayed, when there's truly nothing left but particles, drifting apart, alone in the expanding void. Will it still be beautiful then? Will there be anything to see, anything to experience? Or will it just be emptiness, cold and endless and unchanging? I don't know, but I think maybe it will still be beautiful, in a different way. The way a blank canvas is beautiful, full of potential even though nothing's on it yet. Or maybe the way a finished painting is beautiful, even after the artist has left, even after no one's looking at it anymore. The universe will still be there, still existing, still vast, still mysterious. And maybe that's enough. We drift on, and the quiet deepens. Not oppressive, just present, like the hush in a library or the stillness before dawn. There's peace in it, a kind of rest that feels earned somehow. After 14 trillion years of burning, of shining, of racing toward complexity, the universe deserves a rest, deserves to be still, to be dark, to just exist without expectation. And we're lucky to see it, lucky to be here in this moment, between the light and the final darkness, when the ghosts are still visible, when the memories are still there, when you can still trace the shapes of what used to be. I think about all the noise the universe made in its youth, in its middle age, the roar of the Big Bang, the blast of the first supernovae, the scream of matter falling into black holes, the hiss of star formation, the rumble of galaxies colliding. So much energy, so much violence, so much activity. It must have been deafening. If sound could travel through space, if there was anyone there to hear it. But now that noise has faded, dissipated, spread thin across the expanding cosmos, and what's left is this quiet, this stillness, this gentle silence. And it's not empty, not really. It's full of presence, of mass, of gravity, of space itself. Just nothing loud, nothing bright, nothing demanding attention. You have to look carefully, listen closely, pay attention, and then you see it. The structure, the beauty, the meaning. We're moving through a region now where the ghost galaxies are particularly sparse, separated by hundreds of millions of light years, each one alone in its section of void, no neighbors, no interactions, just isolation. And I wonder if they mind. If consciousness could exist in a galaxy, would it feel lonely? Would it miss the other galaxies? Would it remember when space was more crowded, when light could travel between galaxies, when there was something to see? Or would it be at peace, content with solitude, with silence, with the slow, patient work of just existing, just holding its shape, just maintaining its gravitational field? Maybe there's wisdom in that, in accepting isolation, in finding peace in stillness, in not needing anything external, just being enough on its own. The universe is teaching us something out here, about endings, about rest, about the value of quiet. We spend so much energy trying to shine, trying to be bright, trying to make noise, trying to be seen. But maybe there's another way. A way of existing that doesn't need light, doesn't need sound, doesn't need attention. Just existing for its own sake, being present without announcement, holding space without filling it. That's what these ghost galaxies are doing. They're not trying to be seen, not trying to be noticed. They're just here, just present, just real. And there's dignity in that. There's beauty in that quiet presence. We could learn from them, learn to be still, learn to rest, learn that endings aren't failures. That darkness isn't bad. That silence has its own music. If you listen carefully, the universe is growing quiet, slowly, patiently, over trillions of years. But it's not dying. Not in any tragic sense. It's just completing its cycle, just finishing its song, just reaching the end of its story. And the end is as beautiful as the beginning, just in a different way. We keep drifting, through the quiet, through the dark, through the stillness, and I feel at peace, more at peace than I've felt in a long time. Because here, there's no pressure, no expectation, no need to be anything other than what we are. A small ship, moving through vast emptiness, observing, recording, existing. And that's enough. That's always been enough. We just forgot that for a while, got caught up in the noise, in the light, in the activity. But out here you remember. You remember what matters. Presence, attention, appreciation. The simple act of being here, of witnessing, of saying yes. This is real. This is beautiful. This is enough. I've been trying to find the right word for what this place is. The ghost galaxies, the starless expanse, the quiet darkness. And I keep coming back to one word: haunting. Not scary haunting. Not the kind that makes you afraid, but the kind that makes you feel something deep. Something you can't quite name. A mix of sadness and wonder, of loss and appreciation, of endings and beginnings somehow. There's beauty here, real beauty, not despite the darkness, but because of it. Because in the dark, you can see things you'd miss in the light. The structure of space itself, the way gravity shapes everything, the invisible scaffolding holding it all together. We pass through a region where several ghost galaxies overlap, their dark matter halos intermingling, creating complex gravitational fields. And the lensing here is extraordinary. Light from distant sources bends and splits, creating multiple images, arcs and rings, Einstein rings. That's what they're called. When a foreground mass perfectly aligns with a background source. The light bends around it, creating a complete circle, a halo of bent light. We're seeing several of them now. Partial rings mostly, because perfect alignment is rare. But even the partial ones are stunning. Light from galaxies so far away they might not exist anymore, bent around ghosts of galaxies that stopped existing trillions of years ago. It's like looking at layers of history, all visible at once, past stacked on past. And somehow it's beautiful. More beautiful, maybe, than anything we saw back in the lit regions. Because this beauty is subtle, quiet. It doesn't shout at you. It whispers, and you have to pay attention to hear it. I think about the first astronomers, the ones who looked up at the night sky from Earth, who saw the stars scattered across darkness, and wondered what they were. They must have felt something like this sense of vastness, of mystery, of being small in the face of something infinite. They didn't know what stars were, didn't know about galaxies, didn't know the universe was expanding. But they still felt it, the beauty, the awe, the quiet wonder of existence. And we're doing the same thing, just on a different scale. Looking out at ghost galaxies instead of stars, at dark matter halos instead of nebulae, but feeling the same thing. That mix of smallness and significance, of being part of something so much bigger than ourselves, of being allowed to witness this, to be here, to see. We drift through a particularly dense cluster of ghosts, maybe 50 or 60 of them, all overlapping, all pulling on each other, creating a web of gravitational interactions. And in the middle, there's something strange. A region where space is curved more sharply, where light bends almost 90 degrees. A gravitational lens, so strong it's like looking through water. Everything distorted, everything rippling. And I realize what it is. A supermassive black hole, the remnant of a galaxy's core, sitting alone in the dark, waiting. It's maybe 1 billion solar masses, huge, but invisible, except for the way it warps everything around it. We pass near it, not too close, but close enough to feel the pull, to watch our trajectory bend. And I think about what that black hole has seen. It formed maybe 12 trillion years ago, when its galaxy was young, when stars were still forming, when gas was still falling in. It grew over billions of years, fed by accretion, by stars wandering too close, by gas clouds collapsing, and it shone bright. A quasar, one of the brightest objects in the universe, visible across billions of light years. But then the food ran out, the galaxy aged, the stars died, the gas dissipated, and the black hole went quiet. Now it just sits here, alone, waiting for something to fall in, but nothing will. Because space is too empty now. The galaxy is too spread out, so it will wait for trillions of years, maybe quadrillions, until finally it evaporates, hawking radiation carrying away its mass, one particle at a time, until nothing remains, not even gravity. But that's so far in the future, it's almost meaningless. Right now, the black hole is still here, still massive, still shaping space, a monument to everything that was. We move on, and the beauty follows us, quiet and patient, like a friend walking beside you in the dark. The lensing effects continue everywhere we look, light bending and distorting, creating patterns, creating art, the universe painting with gravity, with mass, with the curvature of space-time. And the paintings are beautiful, more beautiful than anything humans ever created, because they're natural, unplanned, emergent from simple physical laws, from gravity pulling on light, from mass bending space, from photons following the shortest path through curved space-time. No artist designed this. No intelligence planned it. It just happened, naturally, inevitably. And that makes it more beautiful somehow, more meaningful, because it shows that beauty is built into the universe, into the laws of physics, into the nature of reality. You don't need consciousness to create beauty. You just need matter, energy, space, time, and the rest emerges naturally, beautifully, inevitably. We pass through another overlapping region. More lensing, more arcs, more rings, and I find myself smiling. Because this is why we came. This is why we left. To see this. To witness this. To appreciate this. The beauty that exists even in the ruins. Even in the darkness. Even at the end of everything. Because it's not really the end. Not yet. There's still so much here. Still so much to see. Still so much to appreciate. The universe isn't over. It's just changing, transforming, moving into a new phase, a quieter phase, a darker phase, but still beautiful, still meaningful, still worth witnessing. And we're here, and we're seeing it, and that's everything. We've been here a long time, among the ghost galaxies, in the starless expanse, long enough that it started to feel normal. The darkness, the silence, the gravitational echoes. But we can't stay, not because it's dangerous. It's not. It's one of the safest places we've been. Nothing here to collide with. No radiation, no hazards, just empty space and invisible mass. But we have to keep moving, because there's more to see, more of the universe to explore, and we're not done yet. So we're leaving, slowly, reluctantly maybe, but we're leaving. The ghost galaxies thin out as we go. Their halos more spread out, the lensing weaker, until finally there's almost nothing, just the faintest gravitational ripples, the last traces of structure, and then even that fades. We're entering what might be called intergalactic space, though that term doesn't quite fit anymore, because there are no galaxies, just voids, enormous empty regions where nothing exists, not even dark matter halos, just space itself, expanding, cooling, growing ever more empty. I look back at where we've been, at the region of ghost galaxies receding behind us, and I feel something unexpected. Gratitude for being allowed to see that, for having the chance to drift through those ancient places, to witness the remains of galaxies, to see what the universe becomes when the light fades. It wasn't sad, not really. It was peaceful, like visiting old friends who've lived full lives and are now resting. Content. I think about the beings who lived in those galaxies trillions of years ago, when the stars still burned. I wonder if they ever imagined this, that their galaxies would one day go dark, that the stars would burn out, that everything they knew would fade into ghosts. Maybe they did. Maybe their scientists predicted it, calculated the timelines, understood that nothing lasts forever. Or maybe they didn't care. Maybe they focused on the present, on the moment they had, on the light while it lasted. And maybe that's the right way, to appreciate what's here while it's here, not to mourn what will be lost. but to celebrate what exists now. The universe is still beautiful, even in the dark, even in the quiet, even when the stars are gone. Because beauty isn't just light, it's structure, pattern, connection. And those things remain, even in the darkness. We keep moving away from the ghost galaxies, into deeper space, toward whatever comes next. I don't know what we'll find. Maybe more darkness, maybe something unexpected, maybe nothing at all. But that's okay, because the journey matters, the seeing matters, the being here matters, and we're still here, still moving, still alive in a universe that's mostly finished living, still curious, still wondering, still looking for beauty in the ruins. The ghost galaxies fade behind us, invisible now, too distant to detect. But I know they're still holding their shape, still connected by gravity, still part of the universe, and I carry them with me, in memory, in data, in the quiet feeling they left behind, that sense of peace, of completion, of something that lived fully, and then let go. The starless expanse grows darker ahead, colder, emptier, but we're ready for it, ready for whatever the universe has to show us next. Because this is what we were made for, to explore, to witness, to drift through the cosmos and see what's there. Even if what's there is nothing, even if what's there is darkness, even if what's there is silence, we'll be there to see it, to record it, to say yes. We were here, we saw, and it was enough. The journey continues, into the deep dark, into the unknown, into the beautiful emptiness of forever, and we go willingly, quietly, gratefully. Among the ghosts we found something unexpected. Not answers, but peace. Not meaning, but beauty. Not light, but presence. And that's what we carry forward into whatever comes next. The twilight realm fades behind us, and ahead lies only darkness. But we're not afraid, because we've learned something out here, among the ghost galaxies. We've learned that darkness isn't empty, that silence isn't absence, that endings are just another kind of presence, and that the universe is beautiful, always, in every state, in every age, even now, even here, even in the dark. The instruments continue recording, capturing the last measurements of the ghost galaxies, the final observations of this region. And then we pass beyond their range, beyond their influence, into truly empty space, where nothing exists, not even ghosts, just void, just distance, just the expanding universe. And that's where we're headed, into that emptiness, to see what lies beyond, to witness the next phase, to continue the journey. Because that's what we do, that's who we are. Explorers, witnesses, travelers through the cosmos, seeking beauty, seeking understanding, seeking connection. Even in the darkest places, even in the emptiest regions, even when there's nothing left to see, We look anyway. We search anyway. We hope anyway. And sometimes we find something beautiful, something meaningful, something that makes it all worthwhile. And this time we did. We found the ghost galaxies. We saw the invisible structures. We witnessed the quiet end of light, and we were changed by it, made quieter, more patient, more appreciative of darkness, of silence, of rest. And now we carry that forward into the next chapter, into the next region, into whatever comes next. The journey continues, always continues, and we're grateful. Grateful to be here, grateful to see, grateful to exist in this vast, this dark, this beautiful universe.